Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Survivor 49 for Survivor Global. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about episode 4, two tribes, and a swap. And we have someone to talk about this with all the way from Survivor South Africa. It is Thoriso. Thoriso, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Yeah, do you feel thankful? Are you enjoying the season?
It's been a slow burn, shall I say. I don't know. I don't know if it's because there was so much hype around 50 and the anticipation for that. And this almost feels like a need to get through to get to that. And then the pacing of it, I think, as well, has probably just been a bit slower.
Yeah. I don't think it's 50 for me. Like, I knew I had AUV World coming up for like a year and I was still enjoying, like I enjoyed Brains v Brawn 2 and Australian Survivor. I think that it's been a slow start. We did get two tribes for the first time in many years. We got a swap, which is always fun. I think, though, that this episode, like, we're still suffering from, I think, for me, the sins of the New Era production. Like, it's not the swap's fault. It's just, for me, the fact that, like, 12 out of 14 players coming into this episode hadn't started playing yet. Like their dynamics haven't been set. If someone like Jawan has been on the wrong side of a vote, say like Sage goes home and Uli had actually been to tribal council, maybe he wants to flip. Like there's actual dissension to like make a meal of, but like these tribes have been as communal and like congenial as I think I was expecting them to be. So now it's more this like tribe on tribe violence, and then it very much comes down to what the lines are of the swap, which is mostly luck based. So I think we're kind of still seeing that. But obviously, the more that it builds and people actually vote, we'll start like getting that dissension. And I think it should hopefully start heating up. But we're really just getting started for almost all of these players.
Yeah, that's the feeling that I got as well. And it's um I do find it quite interesting that it felt like the two tribes that hadn't gone to tribal were both looking at it in exactly the same way. I mean, had the other gone to tribal, they would have targeted exactly the same people. And at the back of my mind, I was wondering, like, but why would you do that and endanger your own people on the other side? That's just my when you've got a buffer within your tribe that you can go for with no blood on your hands, sort of. So it's a very obviously it is the sensible thing to do, or it makes me wonder down the line whether we're going to have a scenario where the option of throwing tribals could come into play, so as to protect people, because that's the reality of what targeting each other comes with.
Yeah.
And that you can only control that if you're the people going to tribal council.
Yeah.
It's just a thought that I had at the back of my mind around that, and I think it's quite strange that it sort of hasn't come up.
Yeah, it was the first thing I thought when I saw these tribes in the promo before the episode was I was like, oh, we could be looking at like a double throw, which is something we got earlier this year in Brains v Brawn 2. Um,
Yeah.
and we didn't even hear it discussed. I do think, I
Right?
mean, there might be like I think Matt said in his exit press, there were some people on Old Hina who you never want to lose, like someone like MC, very competitive. But for me, I kind of do get not throwing because it's a very rigid way of playing. I mean, you've never even voted with these people. Now you're like
Yes.
really leaning into the rivalry, like not trying to make new connections. Like I think trying to connect with someone like a Shannon for Hina and winning the challenge and making it more dynamic. I mean, it's certainly more interesting, like in terms of like the fluidity of that gameplay, and it gives you more options. Like if you're going to throw a challenge and then just feed the other tribe members to the wolves, it's certainly legitimate, but you are locking yourself into one option. It's tribe on tribe. They might try to throw, you might end up actually losing the throwing battle, and then you really just have to go down to the wire with a group you again have never even voted with and you spent a week with. But like maybe people don't want to like shoehorn themselves into like one kind of stagnant option.
Yeah. No, no, no. I get that wholeheartedly, particularly because they hadn't been to tribal, so the lines were not clearly drawn. But it's just one thing that struck me when you have such a very clear demarcation within the tribes, and um, essentially then you give the power back to those two players that are sort of misplaced as to come and a merge scenario, they are the ones that are the swing in between the two, assuming the other tribe doesn't go to tribal before then.
Yeah.
So it just struck me. It really struck me that it wasn't even a point of discussion.
Yeah.
It so much trust in the season. I don't know what's
Yeah.
from
They
the
might be
way in
too
which people are
nice.
handling idols to
Yeah.
searches. It's I'm like, am I actually watching Survivor? What's going on here?
It is a very congenial season. I think people have complained about that. Like the fact that you have these groups that have so little dissension. Like, yes, they haven't voted, but we've had other groups. What was it, Nami in 46, like the Orange Tribe, like they hated each other. We've definitely seen like Tandang, groups that don't vote and it just festers. And that has not really been that way in these tribes. Like Jawan's on the bottom, but like again, like, is he really like they're fine? So I do think
No,
maybe it
he's
speaks
on the
to how.
bottom. He's just unaware. The fact that he's completely unaware of it is also quite startling.
But he's not like on the, like he's still part of like the group effort to find Rizzo's idol. He's still in like the
Yes.
group idol hunt. Like they tell Sophie about the idol. Like it might just be a very like kind of open and congenial season that's not aggressive enough to do that. But I do understand it, but I definitely think Hina are going to walk into this tribal council and they'd be expecting it. Like, I mean, the old Hina are going to come in and see Matt gone. They might have preferred like a Jason. It seemed like Matt was more on the power structure, and they definitely rather lose like a Sage or someone maybe they're not connecting with who was part of Uli. I mean, I feel like Uli would be fine to lose Sage, but yeah, I feel like maybe they'll think, okay, well, do we want to do that again? Do we want to lose Jason? And I do wonder if it's a thing next for them to be like, do we want to get one back? Or do we just at this point like we go all in and we try and make connections and it's a more dynamic season? And for new Hina, for Uli on new Hina, I do wonder now if it's the time to throw because they've tried to make connections with Matt and Jason. Matt's gone. Jason they felt cagey with. He did vote with them, but like they're not like really connecting. They might think that Sage is more of a buffer, compared to Shannon, who they're close with on the other side. But I do wonder if next time there's always shot in the dark risk, but like they have an idol. They have a lot of space. I wonder if next time I really think their tribe, like the old Uli on the new Hina, they could afford to throw next time. And I do also wonder if the old Hina on new Kele, I do wonder if they're like, wait, why did we let Matt go? And maybe next time they're pushed into some sort of throwing debate, or they're all too nice for it.
Yes.
But yeah, maybe then.
That it's safer to do that. You speak about Sage and Shannon. My goodness, Shannon is really good at this.
Yeah,
She's
he
she's
is.
mesmerizing to watch
He's
how she has
shockingly
that
good.
ability to get people eating out of her hands, and it's quite scary. If that I don't know if the others just can't see it, or Sage is particularly sensitive to it because she knows that it's a toss up between the two of them. But social game is on fleek.
Yeah. I completely agree. There's been a debate this week about her kind of using religion and spirituality to connect in a way that might be a little icky. Does it give you the ick, or do you feel like that's legitimate?
I'll tell you what, it's quite a when you go on there, you're always looking for areas of commonality. I do get the sense that I knew this discussion was going to come up. I actually hadn't listened to anything else before our discussion, but I didn't for some reason it almost didn't give me the ickiness, the type of ickiness that we got with Coach
Yeah.
in his season. There's almost a gentleness to it. And I think that probably comes more from a place where for her I get more of a sense that it's targeted one-on-one, and that she's able to adjust that depending on who she's talking to, whether she must pour more of it out or not, than it is sort of a group think. So by its very nature, it's not exclusionary. You're not getting a sense of chopping people out from that, but more coming down to people's levels and connecting with them on that. So I think that is probably why it didn't feel, as bad as I imagine people feel or can feel that it is. Because that's been the history of religious discussions on Survivor don't tend to end very well. But I see it working for her
Yeah. I
because of
mean,
the group she's got. It could be just be based on the fact that, like you're saying, this pool of people is just so positive on the whole. And so it's received in a very different way to what it would have been in sort of earlier, older seasons.
yeah. I think for me, it's just that it's so genuine. Like at the end of the day, people can be manipulative with religion and they're entitled to. It's very Hancian, if you want to like actively use it for evil. But like I can't really be mad at it. I mean, it's certainly manipulative in the same way, like if someone wants to swear on a loved one, I think they're entitled to it. Like it's up to, I guess, the person to be able to clock how genuine that is and not be taken for a fool. But this isn't even that. Like Shannon genuinely believes this stuff. She's very spiritual, she's very religious,
Which
and
is
she's
wild.
connecting. And I mean, I think that for her, like it obviously will leave out a Sage who's not that way, and I get it. I'm not that way, like I'm not a spiritual person in any way, and I would feel left out. But it's up to you to find how you connect, as you said, find those commonalities, and like people do it. I think doing it on values is kind of much like friendships, probably the best way to do that. Like connecting on political beliefs that are values, on religious values, on like other like shared experiences. What if it was like the parents all connecting, which I'm sure they do. As Shannon said, she has a friend who's a mom, which I did find pretty funny. But like these are the ways that people connect truly and deeply, and for them it's
She
actually
was
very
laying
real.
it on quite thick though, Shannon.
It was working.
Was.
Hey, like all credit to her.
No,
Like don't need to play
was.
it.
It worked. Hook, line, and
Yeah.
sinker. That's the thing that freaked me out about it. Is that, oh my word, she's so good at this.
Yeah. And she's varied. I think the thing with Shannon is she's surprising. Like, I mean, I'm surprised it's gone so well, but even like in her introduction, she's like, I do the whole spiritual women's retreat. Like, if you don't like that, I like the party, like she has like these different elements of herself that she can connect with people. She's landed on a tribe that connects with people. She has that with Christina. Like, of course she should use it. Should they not be allowed to talk about this thing they have in common that's deeply personal to
No,
both
of
of them?
course,
That would be
of
insane.
course.
So I think it's just it's she's landed in a good spot with it, even though the tribal lines have been bad. But I think she's used it really well, and I think she's like completely entitled to it. I'm surprised it's even a thing for people. And I say that again as someone who is an atheist. Like, but I think that if we were to see this on anything else, like a valid way of connecting with people, I don't know that there's anything else we'd really talk about that with. Like, I think that it's, I think it's super legitimate, and it's the way people should connect in real life, like on real shared values.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, she's done so well. I wanted, so let's talk about the tribe that went to tribal council, this new Hina group. What did you feel about this choice between Matt and Jason for the Uli majority? Like, did you lean one way or the other?
I don't know. It's a very difficult call to make when you didn't get a sense that they at least, I suppose they tried to compare them. I mean, there's that confessional where Rizzo says, well, at least Matt is giving me something. Jason is like so shut down, but then they vote in exactly the opposite way.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder what the underlying justification was, if it really didn't matter which of the two of them they had gotten rid of. I suppose that probably came down to Savannah, because the minute she realized that Matt had a financial background, which by the way is a very good call, I would be freaked out as well.
Really?
No, you don't. There's certain levels, and I think the same should be applicable to journalists, ironically, and their history on this game. Saying it to a journalist.
Yes, how so?
If you look
Because
at,
I think we have nothing that's helping us. I mean, well, look, every confessional Savannah has is proving that wrong. But
Exactly my point.
y-
But the minute she was going on about that, and I was thinking about the other journalist that came to mind was Rick Devens,
yes,
and how there's an ability to socially insulate. It's part of the job. People
it's really
freak
not.
out about really like about lawyers, and I don't want to say really smart people, like that is limited to lawyers, but that's because that's a clearly definable threat. But I don't think that certainly in the culture of Survivor, people hone in as much on people who, for part of their job and everyday work, those innate soft skills are essentially what could help them through a game like this. And this is why I think journalists would fall into that bracket generally.
Yeah, he should have turned it
Um,
around on her. You're scared
Pardon?
of me being in finance? He should have been like, "You're a journalist," and she's not even anymore a journalist. They keep having to be like former reporter, but her whole storyline is around being a reporter because being in marketing apparently does not have the same sell, ironically, as being a reporter. And it's so much like, and they've shoved it down our throats, like uncomfortably so. I feel.
Yeah, so it's quite for me. I've certainly like, yeah. I think the people with the soft skills are the people who tend to do better, and there are obviously occupations that naturally lean into that. So people who would have better practice at that. So it always strikes me when someone is that successful, whatever field they're in, there must be a measure of really good soft skills. So I think it was a justified thing, but I get the sense that it was more stemming from a reservation that she would have had anyway about him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you know what it's like. You pick someone and you're like, you don't like them. I'm gonna give you guys a reason as to why I think they should come off as dangerous, and that's the story that you sell to the rest of the tribe. So yeah, she was obviously adamant on this one because no one else. She really does come across as the person who was the driver specifically for Matt.
Well, I feel like, yeah, I mean, she was cagey with Jason. Like, I thought Nate was very much like against Matt, but I do think at the point where she's saying that stuff about Matt, he said in his ex interview it was very late, like in the cycle that he was talking about his background. I think at that point she's using it as, even if it's an internal justification. Like, I think for me, she's, as you said, she's just like finding that reason. Like, it would be interesting because it's surprising. So it's like maybe like, okay, there's more to you than meets the eye,
Yes.
but that's concerning. Like, not necessarily what it is, but the fact that I wouldn't have expected that from you might be concerning. The fact that he was going to keep it a secret and maybe did from everyone for that week on Hina, or like the day that he was with them. Like there, on Survivor Quebec, there was someone who was a psychologist who lied and said he was a teacher, and he revealed that he was a psychologist like a couple of weeks in, and everyone was like, well, you're such a good liar. Like, it's been 3 weeks and you have like, why? So I think that it's like now you have the capacity to lie. I think compared to Jason, I think it, like, the fact that he kept it close to the vest or might have or even was indicating that does compare to Jason, who would never do that. Like, Jason seems so sweet. Like, Jason seems like more
Jason also
innocuous.
comes across as a really bad liar.
Yes. Yeah, I think
I
so.
takes one to
Yeah.
know one, but but you do get a sense of that he can't even fake. I mean, the fact that they were going on about how he's going on about his old tribe, and
Yeah.
you can see that his loyalties are still there. I still want to be here, but just long enough so I can reconnect with my guys. It's when you're in this kind of scenario and you can't even fake that. That's a
Yeah.
very tough sell.
He was trying to be like, well, I can help you with Hina, but they're like, well, but we're not, you know, we're not on the back foot against Hina. Like, we don't need an in. We're actually just still trying to beat Hina, and we can. So I don't think that that was a tack that worked. I think that all the Hina Uli rivalry is funny. It's funny how much they hate Hina. They're like,
Right.
we're on the Hina hammocks. It's like they've really built in like a real like sports rivalry with them. I also think that Hina coming in with the chant on what was, I know that they were trying to like get them with the tree mail on a secret scene was like indicating a challenge and it looked like a challenge. But like, you're gonna swap soon or merge soon, and chanting Hina was like the dumbest thing of this whole episode for me. Like, why are you like? You might as well have been saying top 5, baby. Like, I think underratedly terrible. But yeah, then like at this point we want to beat Hina, so it's actually not about bringing in Matt or and maybe that's why they should have looked at actively throwing the challenge. But it's not as much about bringing in Matt or Jason, who they're not connecting with. It's like, how can we weaken Hina the most? Ironically, we know Matt is more integral to Hina, even though Jason is so sweetly loyal. It's just, I mean, out of the dynamics we've seen, which again don't really matter, the all Schrodinger's dynamics, but we've seen Matt be more core to like the Stevens of the world, maybe Christina, than Jason, who he didn't get a lot on, but that might just be because it's what we've seen. But I think at the point, I think just Matt just felt more active. Like, he just feels like he's going to be like a more squeaky wheel. Like, who wants to be against that? I mean, look at the fact that Jason is either going to play Shot in the Dark or vote for Matt, which he does. At worst, he's going to play Shot in the Dark. And Matt has like a whole Nate plan he's trying to do. Like, it's just more annoying. Like, I think at that point, Matt's better for all of the 3 Uli power players, Nate,
That's
Savannah,
exactly
and
how
Rizzo,
I
and like
felt
especially
about it
Nate.
as well.
Yeah.
It was a very strange call on that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What
And
about for
that
Jawan? Because I think for Jawan it's more interesting because he is at the bottom, and he actually seems to have like a real bond with Matt.
Juan, part of it was very funny that Matt tried to pitch that idea to him, and is like, dude, if I come with you, we don't have the numbers. So why are you pitching to me an idea when you don't have the numbers to execute what you're doing in the first place? One, so it's. I mean, I did say that it seems like he doesn't know he's at the bottom, even though we get a clear sense that he is at the bottom of that tribe. And I'd be more worried for him with regards to that.
Yeah.
But I think even if he was aware of it, I don't think there was anything they could actually do.
That is true.
At best, it was what, unless if they roped Sophie in, who, to be fair, I mean, you look at the draw of that tribe, and the minute you have 2 women in the tribe and they connect the way that they did, that was probably not going to happen.
Let me look at the split, because it's possible they could have like Operation Italy style come over the top of the split. I mean, this would have been crazy, and I don't think he should have done it. So the 2 Jason votes were Savannah and Sophie. So
Yes,
could have been
exactly.
the coolest thing of all time. Imagine that. Imagine if Jawan is like, I am on the bottom. See, this is in a world where Uli have gone to tribal council, maybe they don't split. But like, if Jason's like actually feeling like on the bottom, they could have.
And they
could have come
allow
over the
them
top
to
of the
do a
split
split
here.
vote, and they vote for. I suppose that's the one scenario where they could have done it.
Yeah.
And then targeted who?
Do a 3-2-2 against Nate. But the thing is, I mean, and they were relying on Sophie as well. Like Matt was, and Sophie was gone. So I mean, I hadn't thought about coming over the top of the split, although it's hilarious. It would be so aggressive. Like, definitely don't do this. You know, like that would be an insane thing to do at your first tribal council for Jawan. I think for me with Jawan, it's like he is at the bottom. What does that mean? Like, who cares? You know, like I think like Marianne was at the bottom of Taku for a while and maybe would have gone home depending on like how close they were to the merge, and Lindsay and Jonathan. Erica was often at the bottom of Luvu. It's not even a terrible place to be. It's not even that it's like, who cares? I actually think they might be actively good. Like, getting through with a group where you're technically on the bottom, know to flip closer to the end of the game, can work through in a power group and then be like, let me pick up the people on the bottom at like a 7 rather than like a, you know, pre-merge tribe. That's the scenario for me. Like, to do this here now, I mean, if he did it over the top of the split, he'd also not come back to even a majority. So that would be insane. But even if he somehow, like, if Sophie was open to it, then you'd be like completely switching to just be with Matt. He'd be your only option. And Matt has a lot of options. Like, who knows?
And then you're
Matt
stuck
might
with
completely
them for the
abandon you.
rest of the game. Yeah.
100%. And you don't know any of the people Matt's working with. Like, hopefully you connect with them, you know, or like, and also you're even more on the bottom of Hina, where you're like 6 out of 6 in Uli, are you, or maybe, you know, 5 and 6 with Sage, are you like 7 in Hina? Like, you're more aggressively going to the bottom. I don't know why Matt thought Jawan would so much do something so aggressive. Like, I admire that he was going for it. But like, in what world is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like that's so
Yeah, and the
extreme.
target of Nate, I suppose that's the other thing that didn't make sense to me. I suppose then again, who would you have targeted? The
Savannah,
likelihood is
maybe.
that he would have gotten a better deal targeting Joanne, actually, the person who he needed on that vote.
Yeah. But if you want to do it with Jawan, I mean, he hasn't really connected with Nate. And he kind of sees Nate, Matt saw Nate as like the kind of ringleader, which I think was pretty good for Savannah. Because we kind of seen Savannah at the center and but I guess the way he's seeing it is like we know Nate is very close to Rizzo and Savannah. So like it's probably all true. They're both kind of leading things in
No,
different
they
ways
are
here.
they are clearly very close. Yeah. Again, it's those relationships haven't been tested by tribals, so they are still intact.
Yeah. I think for Jawan, the best thing would have been to get rid of Jason over Matt because he seems to have something really good with Jason going back to the journey. Sorry, not with Jason, with Matt. Jawan and Matt seem to have a good connection going back to the journey, and Matt said in his exits that they had spent a lot of time fishing together. I think if he could, taking out Jason so that he has Matt as an option going, to make a move when it's appropriate in weeks from now, that would have been great. But he has no power here. To me, the people making the decision are very much like Nate, Savannah, and Rizzo. So you're either like completely upending that if you even can, or you're going along to get along. So I think it was just unfortunate for him to lose Matt here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for him, but it probably then makes it the correct decision that Nate, Rizzo, and Savannah took to get rid of Matt.
That is true.
Because then you
Yeah.
are limiting Juan's options and his ability to flip over.
Yeah.
Because
And
you've
look,
basically got Jason, who's an island, and then you've got Sophie, who at this point looks like she could really at some point become an integrated part of that core three. Supplant Joanne. If she hasn't done that already.
yeah.
I, I
I
can
agree with
I
you.
can I can really see a scenario where if that particular group of people were in a position where they had to get rid of one of the two, that leaning towards Sophie would be the safer of the two of them.
I completely agree. I think that if next week they go and try vote out Jason and he plays shot in the dark and it hits, I think they take out Jawan over Sophie. I think that already
Yeah.
happened.
Or they'll
Yeah.
split with Joanne, yeah.
Yeah, well, they don't even they go back to a revote and then they would have the choice, and I think that Jawan would go. So in that circumstance, it's like maybe maybe he should, if he could, maybe, but like he's gonna be fine. They're gonna merge soon. I just think that these are like make these decisions way later on, like making these decisions to like flip to Hina when you haven't met almost all of Hina. That's insane to me, and he could have done it over a split, which would have been crazy. But I do think what your point is a really good one. I mean, even though Jawan is kind of like laughing at Matt's planning confessional, the fact that Matt feels close to Jawan, um, and Jason's not driving any of that is a really good reason to take out Matt. Like he's probably not going to do anything, but like why even try? Why even put up with it? Like it doesn't really matter. But like he's definitely a squeakier wheel here.
Yeah. Because for all we know, yeah, that's reason enough. Because you want to limit people's options and want to give them no choice but to come to you,
Yeah.
and not be able to play the game outside of you. And yeah, Nate, Rizzo, and Savannah are sitting pretty
Yeah. What did you think about
with an
how?
idol.
Yeah, with an eye. See, they've got so much space. Like they're not even. So what did you think about how Jason was playing this? Because he was trying to like threaten them almost with shot in the dark. But I just feel like they have so much runway. The shot in the dark's actually like not a concern to them. But like, what did you think about how Jason went about this?
I don't know the extent to which it may have been effective, but I think that, listen, it's such a tight position when you know that you've got no runway almost, and it's one of two people. I mean, I think about it. I always replay my last final tribal when it was always going to be an option of me or the other person, and you always think to yourself, what could you have said or done differently to be the protected one over the other person.
Yeah.
And I think he did quite the opposite, actually.
Jason did. They kind of both did in
Yes, I
different
think
ways. They were
Jason
like, it was
did
like a
the
race to the bottom for both of them.
right. Even for Matt,
Yeah.
I think for Matt, even by virtue of targeting Nate, you don't go for the guy who's got all the protection out there.
It
That's the
was
person you're
audacious.
supposed to be going and trying to charm.
Yeah.
Um, and seeing if it's worth them keeping you, you know. So it's a very, I think both of them played it. They didn't really play it well at all, you know.
No.
But I think Jason was probably more aggressive in that to their faces, which was really strange.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, he went for it on no capital. He was just like, let me shoot for the moon online. And he like Jason was just trying to survive, and Matt was like, I'm trying to like dominate, which is in some ways commendable, but like he had no capital to pull that off.
Yeah.
And I get like with him, I think that the thing for me with Matt about like because neither of them play their shot in the dark, when both of them kind of should play their shot in the dark, you know. And I think that with Matt, I kind of get it because he's trying to do this big Nate plan. He said in his exit interview that he would hate to have actually like gotten a 3-4 to work, and then for like he doesn't play, and then it's a 3-3 with the new revote rules. It would go back to a 3-3. He would completely screw himself, and he's trying to get a plan to work. I get it. He's dreaming big, but I understand why he doesn't want to throw the chance of that away. However, the breaks completely come up then for me when what happens is Nate calls out the plan at
Confronts
tribal
him.
council.
Yes.
So he knows the plan. So if you have a very slim 4-3 of people you've never voted with because you've never voted for before, two people you've never met, one of them at least, and from what we understand, both Juwan and Sophie obviously go back to Nate. But like one of them at least has gone back to Nate. So you don't have the numbers. And at that point, it's like, oh, like
Yeah.
how is that not the tell for me? It's all on read for me. Like how is that not the tell that you have to play your shot in the dark? That 4-3 is not happening because Nate has heard his name. So how do you feel like it went back to Nate?
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
What was your call on Nate actually calling him out on that?
He shouldn't have done it because anyone else would be like, "Oh, I've been outed and I'm going to play my shot in the dark." And the thing is like it doesn't really matter because they have so much runway. Play your shot in the dark. If it hits, Jason will go home. Like whatever. But
Yeah.
like I do think it should have it doesn't really matter to Uli. Like they have that much space, but it really should have been a tell to Matt.
Yeah, you did get a
like,
sense of it probably came out more out of irritation.
yeah.
The way Nate said it was like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Then it being an intentional sort of slip that my name's been thrown out there. It was
He
like,
just wasn't having it.
no, he wasn't. It was very funny though.
I think for Matt, it's like Matt, if you're about to pull off like a crazy move, 4-3, pulling over people, like a pre-merge New Era move we talk about for a while to come, the guy hasn't heard about it and isn't like talking about it openly out of irritation at tribal council. Like that's probably the tell on that. Like nothing like and the thing is like Juwan is laughing about it in confessional. Sophie, he didn't even know that like he's trying to pitch Sophie as an option. He's also hearing Sophie's fully with them, which is something he wasn't even privy to. So it's not even like Sophie is saying like, hey, I'm making it seem like I'm really with them, but I'm really with you. We're gonna take out Nate. Like clearly you have no eyes on what Sophie is doing. You don't know the dynamics. How are you not playing your shot in the dark? Like Matt, this couldn't have been going worse. And he was like, but I still think it will work out. Like I admire the optimism, if anything, but not the read.
It's the desire for it to go a certain way.
Yeah,
he should have actually picked up on Sophie's cues. If there was ever a time not to do anything,
yeah, literally nothing.
this would have been the time when you end
Yeah.
up in a position where you're in the minority and you just keep your head down and hope people just don't notice you.
Yeah, completely. Especially because Jason was really putting them off. Like it kind of feels like if either Jason or Matt had just done nothing, the other one would have like shot themselves in the foot. But they both were like competing to be more of a reason to go for Uli. Yeah, and I mean like and I think maybe with Matt, he's maybe just a more active player. Jason's a huge puzzle threat, like a huge puzzle threat. So I don't know if like maybe he
Yes,
thinks
he's
he can
done.
acid in challenges, but yeah, it's threatening.
Yeah, I'm interested. I thought it's also a good thing that they didn't bring up Matt's performance in the challenge as well, because
Well,
that
he was
was
using the
also.
challenges to be like, he's like, other than today, I'm the best of the challenges. It's like, well, we've only done one, and we don't care how good you've been for your other tribe. Like, yeah, that didn't go well either.
Yeah, because that comparison and and that looked really bad. Like, as someone who isn't bothered about their challenges, I was like, oh no, I'm feeling so awful for him as it's just not going your way over and over again.
Yeah, it pained me. The thing that pained me was that this was like the first time they didn't have a puzzle, and I was like, you know who could have won this? Like maybe the original Kalia tribe. Like I kind of feel like Sophie could have got on like Jake's shoulders or like Alex's shoulders for the tall part. Maybe, and I know she's like smaller, but I was like they could have actually won this
Yes,
challenge.
that top part was quite a challenge, hey?
Yeah. Um. Yeah. But okay, so what about Jason? Like, what about the shot in the dark gambit? Like, how do you feel like he? Because he doesn't end up playing it. So I thought it was interesting that he was using it to kind of try and make himself, he kind of felt like, oh well, if I might be safe and Matt's not due to shot in the dark, then they won't vote for me because I'm more protected. And then he doesn't do it. So what did you think about that?
Yeah, I think it was probably because he wanted to postpone it so that he could still have it for another round.
Next week, yeah.
And I think this is where he can now go and have a conversation with someone else in that tribe and say, listen, it was very easy to split a vote if there were two of us here. If it's just me, who are
Yeah.
you guys actually going to split on?
Yeah.
If if I play my shot in the dark. That is when you get the cogs working for the
Jawan.
other people who are
Yeah.
supposedly in the bottom. But the problem is then they're already down 4-2,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So so it could have
Yeah.
only been effective in this round.
Well, I guess maybe it is that he had a read that it was Matt over him. Here it's like a 50-50, maybe. Next week, if they go to tribal, it's 100%. So maybe at that point, it's just better to have the shot in the dark. He is reading it well. I didn't think that the bluff worked because they could split a vote so it wasn't threatening. And then even like the idea of him, it's like, well, maybe we'll keep Jason because he'll play a shot in the dark and then he won't have it next week compared to Matt. But even that, they could just take out, probably, as we're saying, as Jawan. They just have so much runway. Like, it's very, very hard to
Yeah.
threaten them. So I don't think the bluff really worked. And clearly what they wanted from him was like more loyalty. So I know I said a couple of weeks ago, like, if it's a 50-50, if it's even like a 90-10 play a shot in the dark, it's not that useful an advantage. Maybe it is better for him next week, but like, it might not even hit. Try and change things up next week and play it now. But I do think for him there was actually some benefit to voting for Matt. They were asking for loyalty. Does it change Jason in the pecking order? Like, no. But if they don't lose the challenge, maybe it just creates more foundational trust moving forward. I think that is fine. I think his read is good. I think that if they split it the other way and they want him to go home and it's the 3-2 on him rather than 3-2 on Matt, he takes it to a 3-3-1. Maybe he makes a last minute pitch there. Look how I voted for Matt and Matt didn't vote, so, and that shows, Matt voted for Nate. So look at that. I think there was like some small benefit to him voting for Matt, and his read must have been good to do it. So I think that part was fine. I don't think the bluff really worked and wasn't what they were like requiring of him. They wanted him to like stake his claim a little bit more.
You know what the funny thing is, Shannon? You know what would have helped them in this position if they had
What?
an extra vote?
Who? Would it have?
Matt. If Matt had an extra vote, it's certainly a more persuasive element in a scenario where there's a split vote and you are in the minority.
Yeah, but even then, right? Because then
Assuming
what?
they
Then
could swing Joanne, which they couldn't.
they
But
couldn't.
it.
Yeah, it's like, there's nothing. Yeah, if
Yeah.
Jawan
I know
had
how
the
you feel
extra
about
vote,
extra votes.
Yeah, well, Jawan had the opportunity to get the extra vote. Ironically, from Matt, it would be funny if he would have taken Matt's vote and then they would have just been right back to square one. It's possible at that point, like Jawan's trying to do something interesting, and then but even here, again, he can come over the top of the split and he's not thinking to do that because it would have been insane. I think the thing with the season as well is like, it's not only congenial, like, other than like Jason and Matt, like, they weren't being like so smart about it here, but like most people are kind of just like doing what they should. Like, no real
Yeah.
notes, but like, no, people aren't like imploding, It's a very like,
Yes,
they
that's
have
what I
like
said. It's
good
like
head on
such
their
a
shoulders.
quiet episode. It's predictable. It followed the script, you know.
Yeah. What did
And
you think about
anyone,
Sophie?
Sophie,
Yeah,
I
Sophie B. The Sophie
pardon.
we know. The Sophie we like actually have a relationship with. There's two Sophies, but yeah,
Uh,
the main Sophie.
I was wondering with Sophie. I was like, is this one of those seasons where she could be the Stephanie LaGrasse of this season, right? Because
That would be
you're
ironic.
seeing it. Pardon?
It would be ironic because we're getting Stephanie LaGrossa next year. She's coming
Right,
back.
but
Yeah,
but you are getting those vibes of certainly between her and the others. She was always the narrator at the other tribe as well, so it seems like she's got a bit more mileage in the season. So I get the sense because of that she might be going deeper than the others, but it will be very interesting how deep it is, because it's quite clear now that she's already insulated. She's found herself to basically conquer a tribe and found a new home, and she's insulated within that new home, with minimal effort. With that said, though, I do get the sense that it was probably more the energy between her and Savannah. They were feeding off a similar type of energy, and that it wasn't just a sense of, one person is playing way better than the other. So they're picking up each other's positive vibes, and I think, what is the term that they use, these youngsters in these tribes?
vibes.
Is it
Yeah,
vibes? No, there's
yeah,
some of the words that they were using, and I was like, jeepers, I'm old.
same. Honestly, at this point, cinema.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. It was really unfortunate to identify with that confessional that Nate had. Um, but it was just like,
Right?
wow. I started watching this show when I was 10 years old. Like, really, the passing of time. I thought Sophie was amazing in this episode. Like, she must be exhausted, and she's just like, she's never off. You know what I mean? She's like, there's such like active social work, and I really liked how she told Savannah the truth of what happened at Kele, because the idol thing of Alex playing the idol, I kind of feel like that might be coming out anyway. It's not like a big secret. It happened publicly, I guess, with two people, but that it's not even about you. You're giving away like valuable information to be an asset, but it's not like you had an idol. And then I also think her saying, "Oh, I would have voted with Jeremiah, but Alex had the idol," which is true.
Which is
But
true.
like,
And
but it could never. But like, it wouldn't necessarily come back to her. Like if Savannah would ever go to Alex and be like, "That's what she told me," and Alex comes back to Sophie, she could be like, "Yeah, that was a lie. Like, I didn't want us to seem close to each other, but I definitely was voting." No one can clock her intention. Like, only she knows what was in her heart. So
yeah,
that's completely unverifiable.
I thought that was such an interesting way to leverage information that can never be verified. I mean, if for whatever reason
Yeah.
Savannah were to go back and say, well, actually, she had no intention of being on your side, she can say, why would you say that? That's not true. There's no
Yeah.
way to verify that.
Exactly.
But equally, it also opens her up. It was very smart in the sense that her vulnerability is like, these are my cards. This is where I'm at in this game. And I just need a new family.
Yeah. I don't
And
have a
I found a
shoe.
new person. I lost my person. So I was already flying solo here.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not untrue. But I think she does that so well. It's like no one, especially this incredibly kind cast, was voting Sophie out. Like the fact that Matt was even pushing that was such a terrible read on the situation. She comes into this group. She's lost 4 people in 7 days. She has 1 shoe. She's wearing other people's shoes.
The
Like, she's
shoes.
not going
Oh
home,
my
man.
word.
Yeah, like she's like who would do that? It would be like killing a puppy. Like, how did he possibly think this was like a genuine option?
That's exactly how I felt. And I'm quite surprised that they didn't call him out on it like, Jeepers, that's a really mean thing to
We're not mean.
propose. She's
Yeah.
probably had the roughest time out here.
Yeah. Like genuinely like a comically terrible time. None of them have been to tribal council. She's had to vote out her closest ally who she was left because her other closest ally got bitten by a snake. Like no one no one was taking her out. Like I genuinely don't understand how anyone thought. Like she could be there like throwing rice in the fire and they'd be like, you've earned it. You know? Like you're losing it a bit. But like
But
who
if
can
I
blame
were her,
you?
I would say the last time someone was at every single tribal council, they ended up winning the season. So there's always something to hold on to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like she has a great story if she makes it to the end. I think she's playing so well. I think she's been amazing. I think it was just the fact that she went out of her way to make like such great communal connections. You know, like as she said, like she's with the Uli majority, so obviously you're going with Uli. Like obviously you're not going to go with Matt's. Not that you even can, but like go with Hina, who you mostly don't even know yet. You're with this Uli majority, but it wasn't just that she like ingratiated so into the group. I'm sure she leapfrogged Joanne, and we see that she's really close with Nate, with Savannah. Rizzo tells her about the idol, like such individual connections. I thought it was so good. Like I know that she lands in a good spot because they will feel a bit sorry for her and like they're not thinking about her because there's this like tribe on tribe rivalry that she doesn't have. But like it was just the fact that she was willing to like go to work after just the most exhausting week ever, and she's just being so like actively social that I thought was so good. Oh, you're muted.
No, no, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, it's one of those stories where you can see that she's obviously so likable. Add to that the fact that she's so likable, and how
Yeah.
pitiful the story is as well.
Yeah.
And I think it is one of those things that will probably come up at the toe end. The deeper she goes into the game, um, because she's just got a far better story than the people
Yeah.
she's with at the moment.
She'll have just played so much more Survivor. I mean, we saw like this with like Kenzie, or I mean, I guess like Jam Jam was more like against Tika, but it always felt like, she was always going to have that credit to her name of having had it so much harder. I think she's having her cake and eating it too, because while she's getting closer with Uli, I think she and Alex have bonded through that. I think the fact
Yeah.
that she voted with Alex last round, which I thought was great, gave her Chizzy points for, like, I thought that was really smart. And I think that they said it will bond them, and I think it genuinely will, even though it wasn't really
Yeah.
either of their first choices. Um, I think that, like, yeah, they will actually reconnect,
And
and
that
that
the
might be
entire
important.
time she wasn't a target. That for me is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it speaks
This
to the quality of her game.
Yeah, I think the thing that annoyed me was, we complain about the disaster tribes. There's too many disaster tribes. We know what the show's trying to do. They manufacture these disaster tribes through a myriad of different ways. And but the thing is, like, then we're like, they do have a good story. I'm like, I feel in my heart like I just want the best for Alex and Sophie. I'm like, damn it, it's working on me. Like,
I
I
was
don't
like, this particular tribe soap was like the haves and the have nots. And then and then the
yeah.
have nots won, you know?
That is true. That is true. But yeah, it was close. That was shocking because they hadn't had Flint and stuff. We've seen swap tribes battle, but I think like for me, it was just like the one good thing you can say about. I mean, disaster tribes. The two good things you can say is it's an interesting story that's a self-contained story arc, and then you're very invested in like the Malcolm and Denise characters.
Yes.
I've been complaining about how often the disaster tribes happen. It's not interesting anymore. It's so manufactured. Like make it end, pull me out of my misery. But then like I am invested in them. So like and I know that I'm aware of all the story beats that make me invested, and it's still working. Which irritates me so
Yeah,
badly.
I
I'm like, damn,
I
I do
thought
want to
the
see them go the
tougher part of
distance.
it was that they still had to go to tribal council after losing Jake. That for me was
So pitiful.
I really like I was waiting for Jeff to say you're a tribal. We've already lost someone, so you can go back to camp.
Honestly, part of me was like, I mean, I said last week that I thought they should have swapped them before Jake even went home. And I like, Oma messaged me, my brother messaged me. He's like, you can't just pull a swap. There's like, that's terrible. I'm like, and Kieran and Dino also hated it. But to be fair, I'm like, they said they were always going to swap at 14. I don't know. I don't think so. They swap when there's a disaster tribe. You're telling me they were definitely going to swap to 2 tribes of 7 if everyone was losing? That's not in the New Era way. My point was just that they do swap them when they get too disastery. I just wanted them to pull the pin earlier because I hate these disaster tribes and it is working on me. So I genuinely like when they were standing up there against Hina and Uli last week. Part of me thought Jeff should just be like, you don't have to compete. You get immunity. Jake already went home. And I'm like, that's not how this game works. That's not fair. But that's how I genuinely felt. Like, you're really making them compete right now. I don't think they should have told them that Jake was Medivac at the challenge so that they have to like deal with that emotional weight and then immediately do a challenge. Like, God damn it, it is working on me. Like, I wish the best for them. I really do. Like, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I really thought CBS might just pull us an Australian Survivor where it's like, it's okay, nobody needs to go home. Or you voted for someone and they've gone somewhere else. You
Well, which
know,
we,
did we
but
really need to lose 2 people in last week's episode?
it just got a little too sad. And then they wait, like the boat was getting to, I was like, it's
That
working.
is the opening of this episode.
It's working.
Like,
Yeah.
it had me thinking, I was wondering, I was looking at that and I was thinking, I'm really surprised something like that never happened to any of my disaster tribes on my seasons. And then I realized that no, it's because we were sensible enough to set up camp far enough away so that when the tide rises, things you're not at risk of stuff like that. So, but
Yeah.
it's the type of stuff that people have no idea how something as simple as her losing her shoe was just like the weight that would break the camel's back when you have just had the losses and you're stuck with the person who you'd rather not be stuck with. It's just the fact that she could pick herself up from that and still be able to carry on and not like lift her spirits up. It's just like, wow. I am
Right.
curious though as to who would have left their shoes behind. It must have been Jake's.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you wouldn't put a shoe on the snake bite.
Yes, it must have been Jake's shoes that she
And
was
then,
wearing. Because I had a moment where I was like, no man, who would be voted off and leave half their stuff there?
yeah, I feel like this whole segment that we just had is just reinforcing the disaster tribes of the new era forever. Like, that's the opposite of what I'm trying to do. But it was working. Also, when they came to the Kale camp and Alex was like, it's just a mess. It was so relatable. Like when people like pop in and like the house isn't clean and you're like, oh, we've got stuff here. Like he's like, there's like underwear hanging up. It's just
Like, I'm really sorry. I wish I could tell you my house is normally in a better state, but it's not true.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
but but like you're here now, and the least I can do is offer you coffee if you're brave
Yeah.
enough and aren't afraid to get an infection or something. When I saw the food out, because that was the other thing for me, I was like, had this half-eaten coconut
Yeah.
that was like lying on bark. I'm like, oh my word, don't they have like a designated place to throw stuff away? Because the ants and the critters are on you like so quickly if you don't figure out how to dispose of food. And yeah, I just looked at that and I thought, oh no, what a
Yeah.
mess.
I mean, I agree with what they said on know-it-alls. Like, I don't think they should have gone back to Kele, because it just felt
That's why
way
it
too
feels like the
disparate.
haves and the have nots.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I like it's so like even that like weird, Hina got the hammocks for one time, like one tribal, which never like makes sense for one night. Um, but it was just so disparate. And like I'm actually kind of glad that it's been bridged by Kele getting a close win, winning fight. Cause like you would hate for them to lose just because they happen to go to that camp. I mean, like the swap you know, you can get swap screwed and that's haphazard enough and it's luck based enough. And like we accept that as part of the game, but why make that even more extreme? So I'm glad they bridged that gap. And then again, I was like, well, Sophie got, you know, fire for a bit and the nice camp, and Alex won immunity and he got fruit and he got flint. And I was like, damn it, I care so much. I'm like thinking about if they're okay.
Yeah,
Damn it,
no, but
disaster tribe.
I looked at that and I thought, I mean, after fire, the top is the most valuable thing to have out
Who has
there.
the top? Hina. Hina has everything.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hina won. Yeah.
I actually distinctly recall my seasons. Probably the first night I was actually able to sleep was the night we had the top, because it was a barrier between the elements. So it's so invaluable comparatively.
Yeah. What did you think about Sophie, the Sophie we don't know, calling out how she didn't want fruit as the reward?
Right? Diet food.
I'm not gonna lie, like I've said the exact same thing before when people bring out fruit as dessert. I'm like, this isn't dessert. This is just where's the chocolate?
It's just
Or
fruit.
but now I like my sweet tooth with my pregnancy cravings, like the sweet tooth is gone. And I crave fruit. So genuinely when that reward came out, I just went to the fridge and ate a bunch of fruit. Fruit and fruit juice are like my go-to now. But like before that, I completely agree with her. Like that is not food. It's nice, but it's not. But my favorite thing about that was the fact that Jeff was like, he didn't say like, what do you think of this reward? And she was like, don't love it. He was like really amped. He was like, isn't this wonderful? And she was like, no. Like
Like, where's
it was such a
Applebee's?
leading question.
That's all that was missing, was for her to say, where's Applebee's or KFC?
Yeah, literally. And then you have to bring it in. Well, we
Yeah,
had like
because
you. Yeah,
because the stuff that you miss is the stuff that you're not gonna be able to get on the island. And I mean, they have coconut, but yeah, fruit is probably the last thing on your mind.
yeah,
But that was hilarious. I think that was her. She probably regretted saying that straight after it came out of her mouth, because it was like an oopsie daisy. My brain, I had a brain fart, and it's just out there now, so you can't backtrack on it. But yes, I mean, the food rewards are always something worth looking forward to, and there's actual sustenance.
yeah. I mean, not in Deprivation Survivor New Era, but I think the production saw her answer and were like, "You're gonna be the Sophie we don't know. Like, we only have room for one Sophie in the edit, and it's not gonna be you." So, yeah.
Yeah.
I just love how Jeff was like, "That was not the answer." Like the fact that they aired it was crazy. Like the fact Jeff was just like, "That's not the approved script. Like, tell me that you're happy to be here." You know what I mean? It was actually really refreshing. I was like, I respect that, Sophie. I don't know. Like, I want to actually get to know you because I respect it.
Although, to be fair, we say that, but those food rewards can also be the most dangerous thing to
Yeah.
have when it is proper food and you have been starved for as long
People
as they
back
have.
from it. No one gets back from fruit.
Exactly. Which,
So,
yeah, chances of that happening with fruit are limited.
yeah. Should we get to the chizzy?
Sure.
All right. Take it away, Jacob Sager-Weinstein and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3. 1, 1, 3. 1, 1, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Do you want to give your points? Your 3, 2, 1.
I actually, this is quite wild, because I think I came into this discussion having not allocated. But I think off the top of my head, I'm gonna trust my gut. I'm gonna go with Savannah. I'm gonna give Savannah 3. I'm gonna give Sophie 2. And my 1 is the one that I'm really debating. I think I'm gonna give it to Shannon, an honorable mention for the work that she did on the other trial.
Well, that would be like that's a whole 1 point. It's not. Is it an honorable mention or is it 1 point?
It's a 1 point. I'm gonna give it to Shannon because I couldn't decide between the two guys. They played that very well. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Shannon. I think she she really landed herself in a good spot there. And even though they didn't go to tribal, it's enjoyable watching her play.
What about Savannah gives her the 3 for you over the guys? Like, what did you? Because you think she's really leading it.
Yeah, that was the sense that I got, and I felt that out of the guys, as the person who connected directly more with Sophie, she was able to
That is
bring
true.
her person in,
Yeah.
who's not necessarily everybody's person, even though she's presented it as that. And the push for Matt, I think, was the one. I see that push for Matt being voted out and her getting the victory on that, even though it was as much a victory, I suppose, for someone like Nate. It should have been an easier sell.
Yeah, I'm really between it. That's really interesting because I'm going to give 3 points to Sophie. I've spoken about it. I think she was amazing. I'm going to give 2 points to Nate because I feel like for Nate, no notes that Matt is like clearly the right
Yeah.
target. He's going for Matt the whole time, as he should. So I feel like there's no complexity there. And then I'm kind of between Savannah and Shannon, and you're kind of convincing me to Savannah. I feel like Savannah was kind of pushing Jason a little bit, even though I do think
At some point.
Matt's a better target for her, and they do go with Matt in the end. And I don't think it really matters as much as like she does really make a good connection with Sophie. I mean, they all do, but I think that it's very pivotal. And then I feel like Shannon was really good, but she is getting like clocked by Steven a little bit.
That is the thing. Yeah, she has been. That is a point to make. That the fact that
Yeah,
she is clocked by Sage.
and yet Sage, and she had a really good thing going with Sage, and now like maybe because they're like in this really dire situation, but now that feels like it's really falling
She's getting
apart.
clocked by Sage, but she's not getting clocked by the people that count.
Yeah.
Should they have to go to tribal?
Yeah, and it was so effortless with Christina, and I felt like MC was also responding really well to her.
Yes.
I'm very between it. Like the 3 and the 2 are really clear for me, and then I don't know. I mean, with Shannon, I feel like it could almost backfire, even though I think that it shouldn't be so obvious. You know what I mean? Like
That's how I feel about it as well.
yeah. And with Savannah, I think the thing that is really good is that we see her doing a lot, but when Matt has a name to throw out there, he throws out Nate.
Yeah. And that it isn't obvious to the people she's playing with. That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
I actually came in here with Shannon as my chili point, but I think I will change to Savannah because of those things. Because she's not the target. Matt is a good target for her. Although she kind of just ends up in a really good swap and then makes the most of it, whereas Shannon ends up in a really bad swap and does what she can. I'm really between it. I don't know.
That's so interesting.
Well, you clearly think Savannah because you gave her 3 points.
I clearly think Savannah between the two, but
yeah. I mean, it was good. It was good from both of them. Maybe I shouldn't like give it to someone who had 2 negative confessionals about her in Shannon. Yeah, okay. I'll change to Savannah for me. That's kind of crazy. I'll give an honorable mention to Shannon. Because you know what it is? Like, it's purely that conversation with Sophie for me.
No.
I think they both, like, handle that very well. Yeah.
No.
For me, Sophie handles it the best. Because
but like I was going to say, for me, it did feel like that they were pretty much, it was a give and take for both of them. So
it was. And they, like, help Rizzo find the idol. And at the end of the day, we've seen Jawan and Savannah have possible issues, but clearly not to the point where Jawan feels that out. You know, is good, is really going to do something. So there's nothing really that negative there. So you can't really fight it. All right. Live cheesy points here on the podcast.
yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else from this?
On both sides.
Yeah. Is anything else from the season you want to?
I want to see when it's going to pick up and people are going to start going for each other. It's so
yeah. It'll inevitably be when I'm overseas. No, last season that did not happen actually. It never picked up ever. You're assuming it will pick up, which is generous. Like maybe,
Please don't jinx us and mention last season that it might just run exactly the same way.
I think what will be interesting is if we actually do get this like two tribe like actual war, that could be interesting. Like that could make something like Murgatory interesting. Like usually kind of people will come together on a communal vote and it doesn't really matter, but people might be more precious about it. So I think, this swap kind of seems like the dynamics are quite set. It's going to be between the people on the bottom, but like maybe getting to Murgatory and then a merge of like an actual war, like that seems like it will be probably pretty good.
I think so. And the interesting dialogue that I look forward to between Sophie and Alex when that does come into play.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think
As
that's interesting.
to what's going to happen, which side are we siding with? Are we siding with someone? Are we staying in the middle and trying to navigate our way from there? But yeah, based on what we've seen so far, it certainly feels like Sophie is the better social player and the one who's more likely to be able to get things done her way between the two of them. So
Yeah.
I am very curious though about the prospect of throwing challenges. I want to see if, even if that is a discussion, would the edit be honest with us about that? Because we know that it's not something that production likes, but I could make a very clear case for throwing a challenge being part of playing the game actively.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. People hate that, but I always find it interesting.
Because you're in control of what happens in the game. Whereas if you leave your fate in another tribe, like what's happened now, then you've got no protection for your people on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I love that it makes challenges more strategic. I love that it's not like a fail-safe thing. It's kind of like splitting a vote. It's not just like a get out of jail free card. Like you are putting yourself at some risk. You're going to tribal council, anything can technically happen. And you're like taking on that calculated risk. Like there's real strategy involved in doing that, even though people really hate it because it's like for them not in the spirit of the game. But I think it's completely in the spirit of the game because
it is in the spirit of the game.
Yeah, that is the whole game. It's like finding creative ways to strategically work through the game. And I think that next week is interesting because next week it's even more clear to me. Like I kind of got it this week. I'm not saying they should throw it next week, but I really think it should be even more of a discussion because especially for this new Hina group of the original Ulis, like Jason didn't play an idol here. They clearly don't have an idol. You have the idol on that beach. I guess that you don't know what the original Hina idol situation was if one of them had it, even though you can split a vote. But like it seems really clear that Jason didn't play it, didn't have anything. The shot in the dark is like such a minor threat. Like they really could afford to. I think the one thing they might think like hopefully like maybe they'll indicate to Shannon like, do you need this or is Sage going home? And I think they'd be fine to let Sage go. But if Shannon were to say to them like, I really need help here, I think they should really look at it because Shannon's super important to that group.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be it. I'd love to see it. Always love a challenge throw. So maybe that'll be that.
Part of the discussion.
Yeah. I think that it would be, a very, very interesting thing. And we'll see as well how Hina react to Matt going. Because they might want an eye for an eye as well.
That's true, but also how Sage and Shannon certainly feel, you get the sense that they are fracturing while on the other side. I don't know if it's purely from Sage's side, but you can certainly see that they are moving in different directions with the previews for next episode as well. So it will be interesting to see how that is read on the other side.
Yeah, I think as well, if you're going to be the kind of tribe that comes in chanting Hina, like at that point, go all in, throw a challenge, vote out Ulis.
Yes.
Like you've laid your claim to what is happening here. I don't necessarily agree with it, but like that is the way you're playing the game. So we'll see. We'll see. Teresa, thank you so much. It was fun to catch up and talk about the season with you.
I made it.
Yeah, we did it. This was super fun. Next week I'll be with Caroline from Australian Survivor Titans v Rebels talking about episode 5 of Survivor 49. Then I have a week off because I'm going away, and then I'll be back for week 7. So that's what's happening. Gussin' Around, the podcast that I do with my husband Peter, Gussin' Around podcast on YouTube, or you can find it Gussin' Around, Gussin, around Apple and Spotify, where we talk about various things from our life and our pregnancy journey and like mental health and podcasting and our interests. And we rank the K-pop Demon Hunter songs. So that's what we are doing over there. Please check it out. Follow me at Shannon Gates for all of that. But Teresa, always fun to catch up with you. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our team behind the scenes, and I will see you next time. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.